Hello and welcome to episode 15 of the And Whatnot podcast. In this episode, we're going to talk about 2017's Wonder Woman.
Woo. I just feel like making that noise every time. It's like you have to be excited.
Yeah.
So
Need sound effects like a radio host DJ guy.
oh gosh, no.
Like air horns and stuff.
Did you ever finally watch Parks and Rec like I've been telling you for years to do?
Oh yeah, I watched it a long time ago.
Oh, okay, good. It's like Crazy Ira.
Yeah.
And the douche. You can be the douche.
Yeah, no, I've watched it 2-3 times now.
Oh, good. Yeah, it's just so classic. It made me so sad now that it's gone.
Yeah.
So sad. But I mean, everyone's got to move on, I guess. You don't want to be doing the same thing for your entire life.
Cough, cough, supernatural, cough, cough.
Oh god, that should have ended. Don't even. Did you edited out my big supernatural rant a while ago, so I won't even try again to have you put it in. But yeah. So my opinion is should have ended after season 5 as it was supposed to. Now it's on season 12 or something crazy.
I think it might be 15.
Oh jeez.
Yeah.
How do you
I don't
anything
know.
go on that long?
I don't know.
Or what's Criminal Minds?
Oh,
I
yeah.
used to watch Criminal Minds all the time. It is still going. I started watching that in high school. It's been over 10 years. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think that's on 13 now.
Oh jeez.
Yeah. In this latest season, Spencer goes to jail.
I saw I have Matthew Gray Gubler on Twitter, so I see updates and he directed some episodes and whatever.
Mhm.
So I'm like, what? I can't even be bothered to care.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of shows that should have ended a long time ago that haven't. And there's some that ended a long time ago that shouldn't have.
Yeah, and you get that thing of you get a good TV show, and I mean, my favorite example is Breaking Bad. They set out to do 5 seasons, and that's what they did. And, I'm sure AMC would have paid them buttloads of money to keep doing it. But they're this is what we want to tell. This is the story. This is the end. And I respect that. And that's what Supernatural originally wanted. And now they're just here's all the money.
Yeah.
But I mean, then it's also good. I think it is good for the actors and the crew and whatever. Then you have steady jobs for a lot longer in an industry where there is no guarantee of anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I see both sides of it, but sometimes you have to know when to call it. And again, even Parks and Rec too. I don't feel like it was slipping at the end. I mean, the last season is certainly different, but I think it's okay. But because it was the last season, they did things that they probably wouldn't have done otherwise, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Or the best example of screwing up the last season that I could ever think of is How I Met Your Mother.
See, I never watched that, but I have heard people complain about it for years. So I don't think I'm going to watch it.
I mean, it's fine. I would still recommend people watch it because it's only the last season that is garbage.
Mm-hmm.
So everything up until then, I mean, even season 8 is a little, it's on the fence. Things aren't as good as they used to be. But I think it's because they had to now extend they were aiming for 8. They were going to wrap everything up in 8. And then I guess the studio was nope, we're doing a 9th season, got to make all the money or something. So they had to change season 8 so that it didn't end. And then season 9 just was pointless and dragged on. So, I mean, I would almost say watch until the beginning of season 8. But then by the time you watch that much, you have to see the end.
Yeah.
You can't have invested all that and not see how it turns out.
Yeah, I dislike when they find out that a show is going to be canceled halfway through a season, and so then they have to just find a way to cram the rest of it into half a season.
And this is the opposite. They were getting another one when they didn't expect it, so then they had to super extend everything.
Yeah. But one example is the show Jericho. I'm not sure if you ever saw any of that.
I never watched that, no.
But it's about a group of people in a town called Jericho that there was a massive nuclear attack on the US, and so now they're trying to survive and like whatnot. And so they have to like somehow wrap up this whole thing in like the 6 episodes they had left in the second season. So it like everything's paced fine first season. First like 3/4 of season 2 are fine, but the last 6 episodes are just like, what the hell is going on here? Because they have to like wrap up everything they planned for like multiple seasons.
Yeah, that's tough. But I don't know. I don't know what I would do if I run a show, or running a show, or if any network executive wants to pay me for some ideas. I don't have a lot of them, but I'll take the money.
You might have lots of ideas. They're just not worth money.
That's very true. That's probably more true. But I don't know. It's a hard decision to make.
Yeah.
So we'll just critique from our couches and tell them all that they made terrible decisions.
Armchair directors.
Exactly. So now that we've got our little television rant, what's new with you?
Not too much. Haven't really been doing much this week. Yeah. Not much.
Well, we live very exciting lives. Good thing we just live vicariously through TV, or else we would have nothing to talk about.
Yeah. Well, I'm working Friday. That's something. So.
Oh, good. Well, see, it's like you can't even talk about that because everybody works.
Exactly.
No one wants to hear about your taxes.
Also, it's multiple days in the future, so I can't really say anything about it.
No, it's going to happen, is what it is.
Yeah.
Let's see. It is my cat's birthday this week.
Oh, happy birthday, Shay.
Well, I don't even know. Like, we got her from the shelter, so it's her shelter birthday that we got her home. So you just count that.
Adoption anniversary might be a better phrase for it rather than birthday.
Whatever, she has one. I just don't know when it is, so we're celebrating it today. And, usually we do something for the dog, too. Like, the dog's birthday is April 12th, and I actually know her actual birthday. So that's April 12th. And then it's funny, I realized after that the day we got the dog is June 9th, and today is June 7th. So it's like right after the cat's birthday, too. I'm like, the dog just always steals her thunder. Can't do anything about it.
Yeah, she does seem to take command sometimes.
Well, it's like she gets into trouble. The cat just, is a cat, and she's good, and you pet her, and everything's fine. And the dog you get stories out of because she gets into shenanigans.
Yeah.
Yeah, but... So yeah, it's Cat's birthday. She didn't even get anything special. Didn't even give her, like, wet cat food or nothing. She just gets regular life.
God, you're a horrible cat parent.
I know, I'm the worst. And then, like, we don't even really get the dog. Like, the first year we had the dog, we got her, like, I made a little dog cake. So it's, like, just carrots and apples and I think, like, eggs or something. And you just kind of mix it and it sort of makes a little souffle thing. So I gave her a dog cake. And, now she just gets a collar every year because we seem to have them last about a year and then they get so dirty you can't do anything about it. So her annual birthday present is a new collar.
Yeah.
Well, Adam, I have to confess something. I've been keeping a secret.
And what is the secret?
It is not a secret from you, or I would probably say half our listeners, because I'm expecting at least half of them to be my direct friends. But I am pregnant. Did you know this?
Gasp! That is so shocking. If only I had known this for not like months or something, but
not since Christmas.
Actually, kind of ruined that for you. I knew before Christmas.
How'd you know before Christmas?
You know that time that I was staying over because you were getting the electrical done?
Did you read through our drawers and find my pregnancy test or something?
No, you left some prenatal vitamins on the kitchen counter.
Oh, you can have prenatal vitamins without being pregnant,
Oh, can you?
I was taking those for months.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well.
Doofus.
I didn't know you'd take them before that. I'm like, there's no reason to take them if you're not.
Yes, there is.
Well, I don't know this. I'm not a doctor.
You take them in case you do get pregnant, because you need to make sure you're getting enough folic acid.
Well, in that case, I found out for sure on Christmas then.
You're so stupid.
Oh, sorry for me not being aware of these things.
I guess you will never have to take prenatal vitamins in your life, so it's not a concern for you.
Exactly. I did the best with the information available to me.
So I was in the stores, and this is like even a little bit before we were like trying to have a baby and stuff. So I'm looking at the vitamins, and like there's regular women's vitamins or there's the prenatal ones. And the prenatal ones have more stuff in them for like the same price if you look at like the levels of everything. So I'm like, why wouldn't you get the prenatals? So I was taking prenatals for like a year anyway.
Ah. I just saw them on the counter one time. I was like, she hasn't said anything. She would if she wanted us to know. So I'm not going to say anything.
Well, that's good because like you would have, I guess, when did you come over? September or October?
No, it was, we went to see, what was it? Fantastic Beasts, I think. And then I came over.
That's really November, right?
Yeah, something like that.
So I would have just been pregnant.
Okay.
Like, just. So, you made a false assumption that turned out to be correct. So, good for you, I guess.
Yay!
But yeah, so usually even when you're trying to get pregnant, you take the prenatals, just in case you ever need that information in the future, Adam.
All right, then.
But yeah, so... this week I am 34 weeks. We just had my baby shower on Sunday, so I know this news is not a shock to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's been interesting. I mean, I haven't talked about it before because it's always like, oh, I don't want to be just that pregnant lady that complains about being pregnant all the time, and like, but it's actually been really smooth. And all my friends who've had babies and whatever, like, I hate you so much. I had no morning sickness, no food aversions, no symptoms of any kind, really. Like, if I hadn't peed on that stick, I would have had no idea. So now we're kind of in the home stretch, and it's getting to feel a little real. So in a month or so, if there's suddenly no new podcasts, you know why.
Yeah.
I'm busy trying to sleep. But yeah, it's been good. And overall, like, most people are chill. Like, you get the weird questions and stuff, and you get the people touching you without, like, asking first. But at least the people are usually my friends, so it's like, all right, I guess it's fine. But
Yeah.
But no, it's been smooth, so now I'm just waiting for that end part. That's going to be a hoot. So, men are so lucky. You don't have to do any of this crap. Like, you don't have to make sure you take your vitamins. You'll just get rickets or whatever. No one cares. It's been good. The worst part is now? Trying to think of a name. Oh my god, how does anyone think of a name? Like, naming the dog was so easy. I already knew what I wanted if it was like a boy or a girl before we even like picked her up. So it's like, why is that so easy? And this is so hard. It's like it's a human and people judge you. Like, they're going to judge me if I have a weird name or not weird enough, or like named after somebody or not named after somebody. Like, oh my god, I don't even know.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it would be really hard to do it as well. Like, you just have to be like, okay, we could name it that, and then you're like, oh no, my second cousin twice removed on my mother's side is named that. I don't want people thinking I named after them, and or like, there's one in our family that, like, mom's always like, never name anybody that ever, and we're like, why? 'Cause he's crazy, and we're like, okay,
Which one is that?
Jason.
Oh yeah. I was like, which one? Oh yes.
Yes, the crazy one.
And that's the thing is, like, so many names are like nice, but someone with that name who's like a bitch or something.
Yeah.
Like, years and years and years ago, like, Mom used to have this baby book. She had it when I think it was when you were born, and just like names and what they all mean and all that stuff. So like, it's in the house. I read it as a kid, and I was like, oh, I like these names. And probably, like, if I ever go back and like find a list, it'll just be like nonsense. I would hate everything now. But I was looking through, and I remember telling Mom one time, I like the name Claire for a girl. I don't now. It's like think what was like 10-year-old me thinking. But I told her I like Claire for a girl, and she's like, Claire's a bitch name. I had this like girl in my class named Claire, and she was a bitch. You can't use that. So, and last year, my one friend gave birth to a girl and named her Claire, and I'm like, no, not the bitch bitch name. And I told her that story and she laughed hysterically. So it's like, everyone has an opinion about it too.
Hmm. Yeah.
Or the in-laws all got a good chuckle a little while ago because the husband's obviously into comic books and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, oh, I bet they're gonna name him like a comic book name. That's gonna be like Peter after Spider-Man or like Logan after like Wolverine or whatever. And they all had those like, ha ha, and they're naming all these comic book names. But like superheroes, their real names are just names. So it's like, not that I would ever use Steven. There's too many Stevens in my family, but like 5 superheroes are named Steven something. So it's like,
well, just name it little baby Ultron or something.
Baby Ultron.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he would get teased out of preschool with that one. Yeah, so that's been the hard part now. And my mother-in-law asked at the shower this week of like, well, I know you're not telling anybody your baby name, but like you have a name picked out, right? I'm like, no. And she's like, what? She seems so like appalled and horrified. I'm like, I don't know. I'll figure it out. I'll see what he looks like when he comes out, I guess.
Yeah, I was over talking to Jeanette and Carl today, and Jeanette was like, oh, do you know anything about names? I'm like, nope, no clue. No idea. She won't tell anybody anything ever.
Well, I already sort of learned my lesson about telling people names I liked, so that's a story for another day.
Yeah.
But like I literally like I have ones I like, but then I flip-flop on them and then I'm like it has to be his name forever. And like most of the names I like also have sort of nicknames of them, and I know Mom specifically hates that because she picked both our names so that you couldn't shorten them, although people do. So what good was that?
Yeah.
But I like ones that sort of have a nickname. So it's like I have to like the full name and I have to like the short version. Mm-hmm. So it's like, oh my God. And then, there's ones that I like and you think, okay, that might be cute for a baby, or like one I like is sort of a family name. So then I'm like, it's in the family. It's kind of naming it after that person, but it's also kind of, I just like it. But it's so hard.
Yeah, as long as you don't call it like Stephen or Carl, because we've got enough of those.
Yeah, we have a ton of those. I mean, that's the thing is, I also told myself before of like, I don't really want to name it after somebody because like the kid should be its own person. Mm-hmm. But then now I kind of like a certain family name, but only one other person has it. It's not Stephen or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's just... There's no right answer, and I think it's you pick something and you like it, and they just grow into it. It doesn't even matter.
Yeah. Well, for something like that, you could always make it the middle name as well. So.
Yeah, that certainly is an option.
Or you could be like one of those people that gives their kid like 37 middle names because you couldn't decide on one.
No, I think one middle name is sufficient.
Yeah. One thing I dislike is when people only use the nickname version of whatever they name their kid. So if they call the kid like James or something, but only ever call that kid Jim, like it's not a good example, but like there's the one person that that called their kid something and they shorten it to Sarah and only ever call the kid Sarah. I dislike when people do that.
I mean,
it's different than like if it's you name the kid Oliver and then every once in a while call it Ollie. That's different to me. But if you only ever call it Ollie, just name it Ollie.
I get that, but like 2 of my friends have done that. I'm trying to think of any else off the top of my head, but 2 have done that. So the one you're referring to, Sarah, so her full name is Seraphim, like the name for angel and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I mean, that friend is quite eccentric, so that makes sense that she would pick kind of an eccentric name, and at least it can be shortened to something, palatable for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And my other friend, of course, her daughter goes by Frankie, but her legal name is Frances. But she only calls her Frances to kind of give her an out if, as an adult, she doesn't want to be called Frankie. So she gave her a quote-unquote mature, like normal name. So it's tough, and I mean, some of the names I like would probably fall under that of I would probably call it just call him a nickname most of the time. But it's everybody's individual business.
Yeah.
I don't know. So that's my only quibble so far about pregnancy is people kind of get in your business and make you second guess things about choices. But ultimately, you have to do whatever. Oh, and then the husband is no help. So I'm like, is there any like name you like, or like is there a family name you have that you want to use, or anything? He's like, no, you just pick something, and like if I don't like it, I'll tell you. I'm like, ah, you're not helping.
Did you really expect him to be much help in those regards, though?
No, he's not a lot of help for things like that.
If there's like a jar that you need opened, he's good for that. Naming babies, not so much.
Not so much. Or it's so funny. We got this little yard decoration. We got this little turtle statue thing, and I'm like, "Do you want to name the turtle?" He's like, "Yeah." His name is like Herbert. That's a turtle name. And he's like, "Why can't naming the baby be that easy? I just thought of that." P.S. The baby's name's not going to be Herbert because that's a turtle name. Or, I mean, Shay, we picked her up from the shelter. She already had that name. They should just come with names.
Pops out with a little name tag. Hi, my name is.
Well, then there's countries where you either have to get your name approved, like the government can veto your name, or there's ones with like lists, and you have to pick from that list of like approved names. And I kind of see the benefit. I mean, I'm not a person that would name my kids something like I would never do Seraphim, for example.
Moon Unit.
All the celebrity names. We could go on for ages. Oh gosh, look up like, is it Jamie Oliver's kids? They all have like crazy names except the last one. It's so funny. But anyway, so I think it's Iceland has this like list of, I can't remember, 100 names or something, and you have to pick from that list. And if you want one that's not, you have to like petition the government and they have to approve it and all this stuff. So I get being too strict, but then there was one case I read in, I think it was New Zealand, and they wanted to name their kid Number 23 Bus Station.
It's Number 18 Bus Shelter.
Whatever, like close enough. Oh, I'm sorry, that's so much better, Mr. Bus Shelter. Is it a girl? I don't even know. Like, is it a female bus shelter or a male bus shelter? But like, I get that. Like, you need to shut that down. Or there's other ones, I can't remember which country, it's probably a few countries, but you can't give your kid a name that's also a title. Like, you can't call it king or prince and stuff, which is as I understand, quite popular these days. So that would take away a lot of people's ideas.
Yeah. I don't know. I think baby name lists aren't a bad idea because there's just so many horrible baby names, and you're like, why would you ever call your kid that? They have to live with that for like 80 years.
I know.
It's ridiculous.
Or I saw some article a while ago, because I always work by like last year's data anyway, so I think this was like 2015 data, but it had said something like 2 people in the U.S. actually named their kid Poop. I'm like, are you serious? You spent like 9 months growing this thing, and you're supposed to love it, and you called it Poop? Like, what's wrong with you? So something should definitely be vetoed. But
yes, yeah.
At least the option exists to change your name, so Poop can grow up and change his name to anything
Turd.
else. I don't know if that's better.
I don't know, I think it's a little better. It sounds more like a name than Poop.
I guess if you say turd, then it kind of sounds like Bert if you say it really fast, which is a name. But so that's gonna be fun. I have about a month left to decide. Yeah. So I think I'm just gonna have to see him. I'm just gonna have to look at his little squishy potato face and decide.
Tater.
And that's another thing. People go through those 3D ultrasounds. Some of them are cool and like, it looks like a baby, but it's like they all look the same. Like some ultrasound clinic in the States got like sued because they found out that like 20 people all went home with the same picture. Apparently it was like a computer glitch, so like they saved an image but it didn't save or something or other, so when they all printed the same photo, but then they like figured it out and they like sued them for like fraud or whatever. So it's like you can't even tell what your baby looks like anyway.
Yeah.
Just a potato. Well, soon you'll be Uncle Adam and you can hold my specific potato.
All right.
All right. So maybe we should move on now. See when you talk about babies, it just ends up taking up the whole thing.
Don't worry, I'm sure some of this will get edited out.
Nah, you're leaving it all in. All right. So the movie for today is Wonder Woman. I'm hoping I could remember a lot of the details. We saw it like 4 days ago, something like that. So some of these specifics might be a little hazy. That's one of the downsides about doing a podcast after. But
well, you can't really do it during. I'm sure people in the theater wouldn't be happy about that.
yeah, I don't think they'd appreciate that. I guess it's like Mystery Science Theater. You're just like talking a bunch of sassy robots or something, and everyone's like, "Shut the f- up, try to watch this movie." But
Go on, roll Fizzlebeef.
I never actually watched it. That was the extent of my knowledge that there's robots.
And
apparently it's back now, and I don't care.
Yeah. Well, in between, during like actual thing, there was Riff Tracks, which was the same one, which is just like an audio file that you're supposed to play along with watching the movie yourself.
Oh, goodness.
All right, but anyway, back to Wonder Woman.
Yes. So I guess there was some controversy this week because they had an all-female screening of the movie.
Mhm.
I saw this in the news. I didn't really read any of the details, but apparently there was all this kerfuffle because, can't leave men out of anything because God forbid something doesn't belong to the men. But
Yeah,
I believe that's the gist of that.
yeah. What it was that brand of theaters down in the States was going to have women's only showings for Wonder Woman opening weekend, and they were apparently also like donating some of the proceeds to various women's charities and stuff. And so there was some controversy about that, about, oh, you're being like sexist because you're excluding men just because they're men and all that sort of stuff, as you'd normally expect. But like, I can kind of see it from both sides. Like, if they were having, like, a showing of, like, Superman and saying, no women allowed, you can't see this movie, there would be women up in arms about it as well. So,
Yeah.
like, I can see it
I
from
was just going
both
to say that.
sides.
Like, if you do it the other way, obviously it would be bad as well.
Yeah, like, I don't really see, like, like, women-only screening any different than, let's say, like, a women's, like, charity dinner or something. Like, it's still part of the proceeds are going to a charity, therefore it's a special event, yada, yada, yada. They're not just excluding men for that specific, like there is a reason behind it, but then I can also see it from the other side as well.
Because I would say something like, if they're doing, like, if this one theater was only doing women's showings, then that's bad. But if, like, one showing of the day is all women, it's not like you can't go to another one. Or even if you make the women's showing like sort of one of the off times, like if it's a Saturday, make it the first one at like 1:00 or something where less people would be inclined to go anyway. Maybe it's like, don't make it inconvenient for other people. But I mean, I see no problem with it. Like you said, it's sort of like a special event. And like, yeah, it's hard. I get it. I don't think it needs the uproar, but I mean, we live in an age where everything is in an uproar.
Yes.
So it's a bit of a hot button issue. And I mean, even the history of Wonder Woman, she is considered a fairly like feminist character. Like, she did a lot of things in the comic books that were the first. Like, I mean, she is the biggest female superhero, period. And she came in an age where they were all men. And, just the things that they depicted in the comics, like her buddy, what was his name, Steve? Is it another Steve? See, more people in the comic books are named Steven than anything else. But so her buddy guy in the comic books keeps proposing to her, and she keeps being like, "Nah, man, I don't need you," and like, I'm off saving the world. I got stuff to do and stuff. So I mean, in that era, that is insane. That's amazing. And have you ever heard the story about the creator of Wonder Woman?
I'm not sure. What is it? I
I'll
don't know.
know
I
it
could
when
have
I
heard
see
it. Well, do you know about this thing? I'm like, maybe. What's the thing you're talking about?
Well, you may not think, because I'm sure you would have remembered the details. But his name was William Marston, and he had a wife and he had a girlfriend, and they were in like a polyamorous relationship. And this is in like the 30s or whatever. So it's like, it's crazy. And he based Wonder Woman off the sort of physicality of one of the girls and the personality of the other. And they were this like super progressive like family, and they had kids together, and they like raised them all together. Like it was, polyamorous before, even now that's not really accepted. And so, she has a lasso because he's into bondage. And so like every comic book she had to get tied up all the time. And I'm going to horribly misquote it, but he has some quote where it's like the only time you can really feel free is not being in control when you're bound and all this stuff. Like, so it's her whole creation is just like nuts. And they eventually had to like stop having her in bondage so much because they kept like getting all these letters and whatever in the 50s and everything from all these people who were so angry about it. So I mean, she's always been sort of, as much as she is a silly comic book person and has the unrealistic comic book proportions and part of that, but all the firsts and her like origins, it's different. It's different than just I'm just gonna pull one from the movies, like Emma Frost from the X-Men, and she's just she's boobs. Like, I know her from the movies, not the comics. Maybe it's different, but it's like they're all just skimpy outfits and like posing like pinups, and Wonder Woman does that too. But it feels like there's more behind it.
Yeah.
So I mean, being a woman, I'm sort of pro, and I think the best tweet I saw about this whole thing, and again, I don't have it in front of me, so I can't credit it properly, but the person was like, oh, the men are upset about the women's only showing. How about that thousands of years of only men voting you got to have? Like, it's kind of apples and oranges, but it's still like, you can't have one theater showing that's not like the men are excluded from without freaking out. Mm-hmm. So, okay, so as a man, if you walked up, we went to the theater and we went to the 1:00 showing of Wonder Woman, and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, we're having it specially reserved for only women this time. Would you be upset? You're an average man. Be honest.
Depends. Is it like the same situation that they're having like a charity thing, or is it just like
oh yeah, same situation.
I probably wouldn't be happy because I wouldn't have known about it in the first place, so I just wasted my time going to the theater, but I'd be like, damn, okay.
And like, I feel like that's the normal reaction. It's only like, if you're personally feel victimized by it. But again, I mean,
yeah, no, I would just be like, that kind of sucks. I came to the theater for nothing then. What else is playing? Oh, those are all crap. I guess I'll come back another day.
Yeah, or it's like, oh, I guess I'll come back in 2 hours for the next one.
Yeah.
And then there was another one that I saw, another news story about Gal Gadot, or the whole movie sort of not being American enough. Did you see this one?
Yeah. I saw a couple like headlines about how stupid it is. Because 1, she's not American. 2, the character's not even American. And 3, shut the hell up. She was beating up Nazis. What is more American than beating up Nazis?
They weren't Nazis yet. This is World War I, not World War II.
Oh, fine. They were beating up Germans in World War I. What's more American than beating up Germans in World War I?
Yeah, and that's, like, again, I feel like this one came from Fox News. I don't want to miscredit them and yell at them, but, I mean, they just have enough to get yelled at. But, nothing about it even claims to be American, except like her costume, because like the original has the red and the blue and the stars.
Yeah.
Like, just because she has stars doesn't mean she's American. You can't like take those for a whole country. But yeah, like the actress is Israeli. We've known that for years. And yeah, Wonder Woman is A, fictional, B, from a fictional island. So she's not like do people's brains work? Sometimes I just wonder. Like I know that America's used to being the center of the universe. And again, I'm very generalizing, but they're used to being the center of everything, and their box office matters, and Hollywood is in America, and all the big actors are American. Like I get that you're used to being in charge, but the movie industry, especially now, is so global.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
yes, the North American box office still matters, but I think the global box office matters more. Like, so many movies are like catering to China, having like big Chinese actors in them, and it's like trying to get airplay there because China has these rules. I think it's 10, only like 10 foreign films a year get full wide release in China or something. So they're all trying to pander to that money, and like there are other countries. So I like that they cast sort of someone unknown. Like I had no idea who she was before Wonder Woman.
Mhm.
And so at first, like her accent isn't hard to understand by any means, but it does take a little getting used to because I think it's an accent that you're not used to hearing.
Yeah.
Like I don't hear an Israeli accent on an everyday basis. So it took a second, but you figure it out. And I think she did a fantastic job. And by no means should she be American at all. And I think if they had Americanized her, then it would be a disservice to the character.
I don't know if it would be a disservice to the character, it would be a disservice to the actress. She did a wonderful job in the role.
Well, how are you basically a Greek demigod born in America? Like, how does that work?
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah. But, like,
Zeus is still alive and kicking and just impregnating randos everywhere again.
if you wanted to make it an American character, you would have wanted to have cast an American actress.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't cast someone that's not American, like, obviously not American, that you want to make American. Just cast an American then.
I mean, I think the only thing I could say is the only thing that you're thinking of her being un-American is the accent, because what's coming to mind right now is Doctor Strange. So Doctor Strange is supposed to be an American. He's played by Benedict Cumberbatch, who's very British and known for his voice. And he changed it. He put on American accent for that movie. So if she'd faked an American accent, they probably wouldn't have been having this issue. But I'm glad they didn't. I'm glad they kept it.
Yeah.
And now I'm trying to think of back to Batman, of how did she talk in Batman? Because I don't like Batman v Superman.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I'd have to rewatch it, which we can talk about that in a minute too. But I don't want to subject myself to that, so I might just Google clips on YouTube to see if she had an accent then. Because maybe it didn't. If it's not coming to mind, I'm thinking maybe she hid it. Maybe she did something.
But don't forget, it would also make sense in that, because in that, she would have been integrated into normal society for quite some time and probably would have lost her accent naturally. So it may make sense for her to not have that accent.
I mean, isn't it you only lose your accent really if you move sort of locations as children? Like, it's very rare for adults to lose their accent.
Yeah, but
And
don't
in
forget,
this-
she would have been living in America. Well, I guess she's living in France.
I was gonna say she's not even living in America. She's like the curator at the Louvre or some shit. I don't even know. Like,
Yeah. I know, but anyway, she's been in not Themyscira, or however it's pronounced, for 100 years or so by this point in time, so it wouldn't be unusual for to have lost some of her accent.
yeah, I was gonna say maybe it changed slightly, but not zero. Like, it wouldn't sound American.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, I didn't see Batman v Superman, and I have no intentions to, so...
Oh gosh, like we were gonna talk about it after we talk about the actual movie. about can this stop the speeding train of garbage that is the DC cinematic universe. So let's just put a pin in that. We'll come back to that.
All right.
So, now that we've discussed her accent, how about we actually talk about the movie? So, Wonder Woman was directed by Patty Jenkins, and this is actually her sort of second big movie. Like the only other sort of movie of note she did was Monster, which we all know won the Oscar for Charlize Theron a few years ago.
By a few, you mean like 12 years ago.
It's a few. It's a couple.
No,
Smidge.
Not 12. 14. Yeah, 14 years ago.
Way to math.
Yeah.
So, Adam, would you like to do our plot summary for the week before you screw up and I just take it over anyway?
Oh, goodness.
I like to give you a fighting chance before I just do it.
All right, so Wonder Woman is the origin story of Wonder Woman, obviously. And the movie starts out with young Diana growing up in the Themyscira, which is an island created by Zeus, one of the Hellenistic gods. And through a story told to her by her mother, Hippolyta, doesn't matter, told to her by her mother, we find out that the Amazons were a race of immortal beings created by Zeus to quell the wars of man that were brought on by Ares, the god of war. And we find out that the gods had a giant war amongst themselves, with Ares killing all the gods but Zeus. And Zeus struck down Ares using the last of his power before he died himself. And that he left the Amazons in charge of protecting the world from Ares should he ever return. Many years later, after young Diana has started training to be an Amazon warrior, a plane crashes off the island on which they live, and she saves the pilot, Steve Trevor, and he tells the Amazons about what we now know is World War I, and how the Germans are essentially taking over Europe, and how bad the war is. Now, having heard all the stories about Ares and the god of war and all that stuff, Diana realizes that it's probably Ares behind this. So she leaves the island to go to Europe to try and stop Ares. Once she gets to Europe, she helps Steve and compatriots, I guess, to try and help end World War I by killing Ares. One thing leads to another, and Diana ends up killing Ludendorff, who turns out to not be Ares, as she once thought, but it's Sir Patrick, someone she thought was actually an ally to them. So they have a rather large fight, and she learns that she is actually the daughter of Zeus and Hippolyta, and that she is in fact a god. And then Ares then reveals that only a god can kill another god, and they have a big fight, and she ends up winning. The
So
end.
anticlimactic. She wins. The end. Oh, and the very critical piece of Steve sacrifices himself and is killed.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. Who cares?
You don't care. This is called Wonder Woman. Is he Wonder Woman? I don't think so.
I have issues with his bit, but we'll talk about that later.
Ooh, is this going to be Adam's nitpick time? Because, like, I was fairly satisfied, but as we were leaving the movie, you're like, I have some things to discuss.
They're mostly directorial things, not story beats, unlike yours, so...
All right, so overall thoughts. I really enjoyed myself. I mean, it's hard because you have to think of it in context of like the other DC movies and then on its own. So even on its own, I feel it's pretty serviceable. Like there are issues for sure, but I mean, I had a good time. So I generally liked it. How about you?
Same. I liked the movie for what it was. Like I said, I haven't seen Batman v Superman, so I can't compare it to that, but it definitely wasn't a steaming pile of garbage like I have heard that one is.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, it's a good movie. Is it as good as some people are saying it is? I'm not sure. But I enjoyed it. I'd probably give it a solid 8.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would land somewhere there for me, like maybe 7.5. Yeah, yeah. I mean, definitely recommend it. So, casting. I mean, as we mentioned before, Gal Gadot is sort of a controversial choice. I mean, she was when they announced her for Dawn of Justice, like the Batman v Superman. Everyone's like, "Oh, she's too skinny. She's like this model. Like, what is she gonna do? Like, what real Wonder Woman have curve? Like, you know." I think she did a great job.
Yeah, she did really good in her role. I haven't seen her in anything before this. Like, I know she was in a few of the, like, Fast and the Furious movies. She was obviously in Dawn of Justice, but this is my first time actually seeing her in something.
Yeah, and I think she did a good job. As I said, with the accent, I'm glad they kept it. I mean, nothing is worse than someone trying to hide their accent and failing. Charlie Hunnam. But, uh, in some cases, failing spectacularly. So I'm glad, and it, we're so used to seeing period movies, or anything in like Greek mythology kind of stuff, and everyone's British. Like they just cast all British actors because everyone's just like, oh, do you speak British? It means you're old. Like, So it was refreshing to have a non-British actor playing something like that. So I'm really glad, and it's sometimes hard to separate like the words she says versus how she says it. Like there are some cheesy lines and stuff in there. But I think she did a good job. Look-wise, I think she like fits the role. Like, anyone saying she's too skinny, apparently she's like super bulked up. She doesn't look super bulky to me in this, but I think physicality would be what I would expect of a Wonder Woman.
Yeah. Well, like, that's the thing. Like, she is, like, essentially a killing machine. Like, that's what the Amazons were essentially created for. And
yeah,
so,
in a blunt sense. That sounds so blunt. Killing machines.
killing machine.
They have feelings, Adam.
I know, but they were essentially created to kill Ares when the time came.
True.
So, in that sense, they are meant for killing, and I believe she could kill somebody. So,
All right. How do you feel about Chris Pine?
I don't know. I think his character was kind of like not really needed. Like, he was needed to go there and tell them of the war, but after that, probably could have replaced him with like anybody else.
Anybody else? Here's this rock. Why don't you just carry around this rock? He's your buddy now.
Well, no, because the thing is, like, she kind of loses faith in humanity, but then, like, his love saves her, and, like, that doesn't need to be there. Like, it doesn't need the romantic subplot for it. It could have just
do
been...
you ever really need a romantic subplot?
No, but especially in this, like, you don't need it. He could have, like, she could have just seen, like, his sacrifice and be like, man, not all mankind is shit. I better help them. And that's all you need. It doesn't need to be because she loved him.
Your issue is with sort of the story, not necessarily Chris Pine.
Chris Pine's fine. His character is what's not fine. Steve Trevor is the problem, not Chris Pine. Chris Pine did fine.
I'm sure he'll put that on his CV. I am not the problem. I've seen the Star Trek movies, and I've seen him in The Odd Other Thing, and usually I just find him so intolerably smug. Like, I just want to slap his stupid face, and this time I didn't want to slap him. So, I think he's already doing better.
Yeah, that's definitely going on the CV as well.
I didn't want to slap him. But, when he's playing like Captain Kirk, he's just so like, oh, get out of your own butt. Like, and again, I don't know if that's Chris Pine or how he was told to play Kirk or whatever his deal is, but usually I'm just like, ugh, get to anybody else.
Well, to be fair, Kirk was always just a smug asshole to begin with, so.
I know. So that's why I'm like, Chris Pine's probably doing a fine job at being an asshole.
He's a good actor.
I didn't hate him in this, so that was kind of nice.
Mhm.
And I think maybe because he is sort of a supporting character, like he's obviously the male lead, but he's second fiddle to Wonder Woman, so maybe because of that he's not as in focus as when he's Kirk and like front and center.
Mhm.
But I think he did a much better job. Now, how do you feel about David Thewlis as Ares? Spoilers. Because I try not to watch anything before we record because I don't want other people's opinions to like muddy my opinion. But I read one article about how he was miscast, and I can agree. And I think the girl sitting beside us in the theater agreed because when it was revealed he was Ares, she literally laughed out loud. So I don't think that girl really liked the casting. What do you think? Do you think he was miscast?
Yeah. Just the easiest way to answer that is yes, he was, but he wasn't miscast as Sir Patrick. He was miscast as Ares. Now, if they had done something when, like, Ares, like, transforms or transmorphs or whatever you want to say into somebody that looks different when he reveals himself as Ares, that would make more sense. Because he's not intimidating at all. And he's the big bad guy. He's the god of war, and he looks like your grandpa.
I think he might take offense to that. Guy's only like 54. Like he's not...
He looks like he could be somebody's grandpa.
He's somebody's grandpa. I agree. Like when we were watching the movie, and I don't want to be like, "Oh, I'm smarter than everybody," but I'm watching the movie, and they're setting up what's his face, the German commander guy as Ares, and I'm just thinking, it's too easy. And especially, like, this was before their fight. And then when, Diana's fighting him, or, like, Wonder Woman's fighting him, it's too easy. Like, he just dies. And obviously the movie doesn't end immediately. So, I mean, even before then, I'm like, he's not going to be the big bad guy. He's going to be a bad guy. And I think they did a good enough job of the red herring in that he has these little pills that he keeps cracking open and sniffing. Like, I'm like, is he doing coke? Like, he's doing something. And they never really explain what's in those pills. It just makes him go all crazy. So it's like super cocaine or something. I have no idea. So, I mean, it really does make you think, like, it does seem plausible that he could be Ares simply because he's, like, doing this thing. But I'm like, no, there's got to be something else. So you immediately think of who's the only other person that's had significant enough screen time to make that reveal true and like make it hit home. And I'm like, Sir Patrick. So no offense to the movie, but I figured it out before. So I agree. As Sir Patrick, he's perfect because like, he's a little bookish. He's a little, he's Remus Lupin for God's sakes. Like,
yeah.
So, he's perfect as that. But yeah, as Ares, they needed to have done something. He's not scary.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think the point that the girl actually laughed was like that flashback. He was like right after Zeus struck him with like the lightning bolt or whatever it was, and he's like on a rock and like trying to recover. So it's like him in like a loincloth or something, and she just laughs hysterically because he's not enough to be a god.
Yeah, especially the god of war. Like he could be like some other god, like god of agriculture, who gives a crap. But god of war needs to be big, tough, intimidating, burly. He needs to be
god
like
of
the
librarians.
Rock.
That's him.
Yeah, like the Rock or something.
The Rock. See, it's like it can go too far that way too. Because if they were to do that thing where he switched into another person, I would be cool with that. Like you kind of do, like you meant the Fantastic Beasts, where it's like, oh, am I Colin Farrell? Am I Johnny Depp? Like, it can work if you pick the right people.
Yeah.
So I think if they had picked the right person, it would have been fine. Not The Rock, that's too far.
I know.
But,
Jason Statham or something. I could see Jason Statham being like God of War. You don't like Jason Statham?
He's fine, I
I like
guess.
Jason Statham.
He's just in B movies, you know. But I can't no. Like I appreciate that it has to be someone older, but there's got to be someone. I'm trying
More
to think
intimidating looking.
more intimidating looking. Like who would I cast? And I'm trying to think of somebody. So it obviously has to be someone like British, because that guy's maybe British. So you got to keep the accent at least to kind of you know hold people over. But I don't know. There's got to be somebody else.
Yeah. Oh well.
But what can you do?
Yeah. I don't know. Now that we're kind of getting into nitpicky stuff, she wouldn't be a god, she would be a demigod. She is the daughter of a god and a not god. That makes demigod, not god. Come on, people. It's simple god math.
But I mean, almost all of Zeus's children are demigods. I guess they're just like rounding up to God. Because if there's only allegedly the two of them left. Also, is Zeus still around?
No.
Like, no? What happened to Zeus? I can't remember.
He died.
Great. You can't just.
No, he used the rest of his energy
power
and whatnot to yes.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I forgot. But it's like, I don't know. I personally like Greek history too much when you kind of F around with it and do your own thing. I'm like, that's not how it goes.
Yeah.
But the whole point is that they're just ridiculous stories anyway. Like, people having sex with trees and making frogs and all this shit. Like, who knows? Like,
transforming into like geese and like knocking up some chick and making like wood nymphs or whatever.
It was a swan that Zeus transformed into and like raped somebody, and like I forget who came out of that, but yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, the Greek gods are a little messed up.
But and if we're getting on the nitpick train, I think I agree with you that the whole romantic subplot doesn't need to happen. But arguably, does it ever need to happen? The answer is kind of no. But I feel like it's the same issue with any time they have two people fall in love in a movie. It almost seems too fast. Mm-hmm. Like this one, I liked the exchange when they're on the boat and they're all like, oh, so you've never seen like a man before? And then they're like talking about sex or whatever. And she's like, oh, you don't need a man for like pleasure, it's only reproduction or something. That whole exchange, like, it needed to be about half the length it was. It went on for a long time. But I enjoyed it. And then it's kind of like you don't get the time scale, because it's like they go to sleep and the next morning they're in London and he's kind of like, oh, we hitched a ride on this tugboat. So I'm like, okay, wait, obviously this island is like magical and God knows where it actually is, but it's clearly like a Greek island. Even if we pretend that it's a Greek island in the middle of the Atlantic, all like they got to London in a day, then they got to like France in a day, and like wherever else they're going. So you don't. It just seems like everything jumped around too quick, and there weren't enough other moments that solidified the relationship. Like there was the whole like Pretty Woman thing where she comes out all pretty fine. He's like, oh geez, I guess she is like, gorgeous and all this stuff. It's like, oh God, like can we not do a couple of the tropes, just a few? And then like they sort of hook up in that the one scene, and it's like, did you meet 3 days ago? I'm trying to like keep track of how long you've actually known each other. That not that you need to be in love by any means, like, but it just seemed too fast to have an impact.
Yeah.
And I almost think it would have been better if they kind of did the Steve Rogers, Peggy Carter thing of they never actually got together. They liked each other and they were going to, and then he died. And that could have worked very well.
Yeah. I don't know. another nitpick, but this one direction-wise is, like I had even mentioned it earlier, when we left the theater, is that there were so many shots that it was like wide action shot, cut to her reacting to the thing, back to wide action shot, cut to her reacting to it. Like, they did that so many times.
There was a lot of reactions.
Yeah. Oh, also, gratuitous slow motion. Like, anytime she went to punch anybody, guess what? Slow-mo time. Like, I could understand doing it a few times, but like every single time she wanted to hit somebody or do anything, ugh.
But I mean, that's sort of the gimmick of the thing. Like, I
know, but look at like any other superhero movie. When people are punching people, you might have like 1 or 2 slow-mo punches. This one, everyone, not everyone, but like a vast majority of them, there was slow motion in it. Like, it doesn't need to be there. Like, do it once to show the impact of the punch, and then we get it from that point on.
I don't know. See, that didn't bother me. Like, I get overusing a certain thing, but if that's like the thing they're going with, like, I get it. It's like J.J. Abrams and his lens flare. Is it everywhere? Yes. Does it get annoying and repetitive? Yeah, but it's his thing. Like, let him have it.
Yeah, but at least J.J. Abrams has like directed more than like 2 things, so like we know what his style is like. This one, it seemed like just not knowing how to direct an action movie.
I mean, even think of 300, even think of Zack Snyder himself. Like, it was a little altered, but that was kind of his gimmick in 300, is the changing frame rate during the fight scenes. Like, I heard how he did it. Like, the original one, he used a camera. He could control the frame speed manually. So when he's filming, he's the one who's actually slowing it up and down. I mean, this one was CG, obviously. But, you know, it's in that vein of he would slow it down, then speed it up. And this one kind of just slowed it down. But it's not like it hasn't been done before. And I mean, everyone, like, you know, had a pretty positive reception to 300's fight scenes.
Yeah, but that one, the slow-mo was done correctly. Like, it showed the impact of the hits they were making. Whereas in this, if you did it once or twice to show, like, the actual, like, impact, and then just went on with normal speed the rest of the time, it would have been fine. But it was like, oh, she punched a guy in the face, better slow it down. Oh, she's blocking a thing with her shield, better slow it down. Oh, she's doing this, better slow it down. Like, everything was slowed down. And, like, it doesn't ruin the movie, it's just one of those nitpick things. I'm like, you could have used it more sparingly.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, I think the training fight scene, like with all the Amazons sort of at the beginning, I think that was awesome. Like, it's a ride. I enjoyed watching it. Like, you know, I get that they use it sort of over and over again. I also feel like none of Wonder Woman's solo fight scenes are as awesome as that training fight scene. Like, where they're all flipping around and they're all doing stuff.
Yeah.
None of hers live up to that. Like, they all kind of do the jump sort of roundhouse kick thing. But, like, friggin' Robin Wright, like, with the arrows and the jumping and all the stuff, like, half of the stuff she did was way cooler than what Wonder Woman did in the rest of the movie. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know if that's, like, a choreography issue, because obviously, like, she'd have a stunt double doing stuff. So, I mean, I'm sure the stunt double can do all the jumps or whatever that you need. It just, it didn't hit as hard as what those first couple scenes did.
Mm-hmm. Also, during, like, all the fight scenes, she's doing, like, impossible flips and stuff. I'm like, do the laws of physics, like, just not apply to superheroes ever?
Oh, you can't think about laws of physics.
I know, but she, like, will go from, like, sliding on her knees to being, like, 10 feet up in the air in, like, a single, like, kick flip. I'm like, it's not even possible. Like, it's before she even learned that she was a god. After she's a god, sure, whatever, she somehow taps into god powers. But before this, it's just, like, even, like, slightly more believable fight scenes would be nice.
I mean, that's not the point. Like now I think you're just down on the fight scenes and taking them down. Because I mean, I don't think we've ever, you know, picked on like Spider-Man or whatever for how is there always a building for him to swing from that gets him to the perfect angle. Like, there is some suspension of disbelief.
I know, but some of them, it just doesn't make any sense how you'd be able to do it. Like, I forget.
I mean, the one she jumped out of like the trenches and like flew 50 feet in the air. It's because she's a superhuman.
I know.
Like, that's why she's doing the jumps. Like, she jumped up from like the ground to the top of a church or something. Like, it's because she's a demigod. There you go.
Fine. Oh, also another thing. There was a thing about how, like, oh yeah, the Amazons know like 137 languages, and like, how do they learn the languages if they never leave the island?
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that of like, you don't know that there's a war going on, but you know all of the languages.
Yeah, modern English. You were created like 10,000 years ago, or however long, by like Zeus, and yet can speak perfect English. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like, how do you learn these things?
Yep.
Oh, but don't worry, we also happen to know, like, ancient Babylon's cuneiform or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I could understand, like, knowing all, like, the ancient languages, because any ones that would have been around when they were created, sure, they can know those ones, but how do they learn, like, French?
Yeah, pretty much. I think they're just trying to address a plot hole by introducing a bigger plot hole.
Yeah.
Because, God forbid, someone's going to say, how does she know English? And that's their answer, but then their answer's also dumb, too.
Yeah.
So, you can't win. It's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. And if we're talking superfluous characters, like, like you think Steve Trevor is, I mean, she needs at least one companion. She can't go into war by herself. Like, if Steve, like, dropped her off in London and was like, bye, and then it was just her for the rest of the movie, it'd be like, what the hell? But I think all of Steve's buddies were really unnecessary.
Yes.
Like, what did they add at all? Like, have it be her and him the whole time. Like, then I might like the whole romance thing a little bit better because they're literally spending every second together for the 2 weeks or however long this movie's supposed to take place. So I think his buddies are useless.
Yeah.
They really didn't even, like, provide any exceptional skills. Like, I'm trying to think, like, what one of them did to make themselves needed. Like, one was a sniper. You could have just had some random,
but one time that they needed him, he froze up and he just did nothing.
That's true. He helped later. He was able to fire stuff later, but...
Yeah, the only one that actually did something useful was the chief with the smoke signal. I think that's
really, you could
only
probably
useful.
just...
Yeah.
Oh, there he is, and just run over there. Like, you really didn't need him.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know the comic book origins of this. Like, if these guys were in the comic books, too. But I feel like this group is too ethnically diverse for the time. Like, would they really all be friends? Like, it just seems skeptical to me. This is like 1910 or whatever it is.
Yeah, but
like,
you could see them all being in London at the same time, except maybe the chief, because Samir obviously would have been part of the British Raj, the colony, like the Indian colony for the British, and they fought in World War One. You had Charlie, who was Scottish. They fought in World War One. Obviously, Steve was an American, fought in World War One. So it's not unbelievable for those all to be there, but under what circumstance would they have met and all fought together? That they would have become best buds.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not entirely impossible. It's just probably unlikely. But I don't know enough World War One history to be able to
say anything. Yeah,
but even then it wouldn't matter because this is obviously an alternate universe. So.
Yeah, for sure, of course.
Oh, another thing.
Oh no.
this one gets me though, is that the movie posits that after killing Ares, wars will cease. There will be no more war. But clearly that's not the case, because we have seen fighting in other DC movies in the same universe. Well, so if Ares was the god of war that put, like, that corrupted mankind into fighting, and there is no more Ares, there should be no more corrupt man fighting.
Well, I think that's the point of Diana learning who Ares is he's saying that humans are generally corrupt. He just helps them along. And, that's the thing is this was like, a story she was told as a child of, you kill one guy and all the sadness in the world goes away. And that's sort of the point, is that you can't solve these complex problems by one thing. And that's what she finds out. And that's the whole lesson of, yes, things are kind of shitty, but they're worth saving anyway. So I don't think that the movie's point was that's how it was going to happen. The movie's point is Diana thinks that's how it's going to happen, and that's not what real life is.
All right, maybe I was misunderstanding his little speech, but
Yeah. I mean, his speech was basically like, humans are already shit, and I just help them. So if we get rid of the humans, everything will be great. But she's like, yeah, humans aren't perfect, but there are good things to save in them and humanity. So screw you, guy. So that's the story.
all right, well, scratch that one off my things that annoyed me about this movie list, but
This is the problem when we also don't talk about it before. This is the only time we've talked about the movie, so.
yeah. Well, it also doesn't help that we saw the movie like 4 or 5 days ago. I can't remember everything that was said in the speech, so.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing, like, we should, like, see the movie Saturday, record Sunday or something, like,
We
when
really
it's
should,
fresh, but we usually wait till, like, Tuesday or Wednesday.
Life.
Yeah.
But I think my last thing is like I don't know if it's the whole casting issue, but just the last fight scene was not climactic enough for me.
Yeah.
It just seemed like he could pull all these powers out of his butt, and it's like, I know that she just found out she is even sort of that special, but he's just like doing all this stuff and like looks, his whole outfit is terrible. His whole like devil horns on fire, just, guy, that's so 5 years ago. Like you need new outfit. Like
That's so last season.
it's terrible. Like fire has been done. Let's try a different element, okay? Like
Well, he also throws lightning in there, so.
oh good, let's just have all of the powers. I just find it really anticlimactic.
Yeah.
And so again, I don't know if it's a direction or a casting or just a CG thing, but it's for the final fight, it didn't seem grand enough.
Yeah.
And like all these soldier guys are like running around trying to, get the bombs or whatever. There's friggin' like people flying and fighting. Like you can see them. Like they're 100 feet away from you. No one goes to check that out. Like no one goes.
Yeah. I wonder what that giant lightning bolt I just saw was. Oh, better not worry about it. I've got some bombs to load on a plane. Oh no, what was that giant explosion 30 feet from me? Oh, don't worry about it. I gotta go load some bombs on a plane.
Yeah. Do you think that Steve Trevor didn't need to die? I almost feel like he didn't need to die. Because I mean, to me, his whole thing is like they have the bombs with the super gas set on a timer, and it either goes off on the ground, or some guy flies it to London or whatever, and it goes off in London. So Steve takes the plane, flies it up into the sky, and detonates it in the sky so that it doesn't kill anybody. I mean,
He could have theoretically jumped out of the plane if he had a parachute, just like fly around for like an hour or two, however long the timer is, 10 minutes before, hop out, set the plane on autopilot, if they had autopilot back then, or just point it slightly upward so it just flies up, so you're less likely to crash prematurely.
you do the whole brick on the gas pedal.
Yeah, and then hop out 10 minutes before, and there you go, you probably live. But
So I'm trying to think. There's got to be a way that he could have like rigged it to change the timer or something, so that they had enough time to get out of the way, like so he and his buddies could get away from the base. I don't know. It just feels like there could have been a solution, but maybe there wasn't. But I don't know.
I don't know, but like I said earlier, I would have made it so that, like, there wasn't the romantic subplot, and he still sacrifices himself, and she's like, man, humanity's not all shit. I'm gonna help them, because that one guy was great. Like, they could have done that. And in that case, yes, he would have had to have actually died.
Yeah.
which he did end up doing anyway. So
But then I guess, I mean, we see her in the future, so he's got to die eventually
yeah,
because she's not gonna. So, and I guess that's kind of my other issue is it's really like it's not funny, but it's almost funny to me that like they're living thousands and thousands of years on this island, and then in like one day, half of the Amazons are slaughtered.
yeah,
Like with this one fight. And I'm like, oh, that's really unfortunate. Like these poor people, and no offense to them, but if they're supposed to be these god killers and like, protect the world from Ares, they can't even defend against like 20 Germans. Like,
yeah. But don't forget, they had spears and bows and arrows versus
why is
bullets.
Diana the only one with a shield? Why does no one have a shield?
I don't know.
They all just die. Like it's just anticlimactic at the beginning too.
Yeah,
I mean, have one of them have like Robin Wright die, but not all of them.
yeah. Well, it's not like they were really doing anything anyway.
None of them seem upset except for, Diana about Robin Wright. I'm not even going to try to pronounce her character name.
Yeah,
Oh well. I think that's it. I didn't have as many, like, my nitpicks are there, but not as aggressive as previous movies.
yeah.
Do you think this is going to get the DC universe back on track? Because I know that you said you didn't see Dawn of Justice, which is one of those I almost encourage you to do it just to see how shitty it is. Like, I think we saw it in theaters because I'm like, did we see it in theaters or did we? I can't remember if we saw it in theaters or if we just saw it at home. I think we might have seen it at home. Anyway, it is just, it's infuriating because if you just did like a few things differently, it would be so much better. And it's just, oh my, you almost have to see how spectacularly it fails at itself. So that movie, I never saw Suicide Squad. The husband watched it. He said it was garbage. Compared to those, this is amazing. This is a masterpiece. So compared to Dawn of Justice, this, and I totally mean it as a compliment, feels like a Marvel movie. It feels like they did the formula. Yes, it's a little formulaic, but they got enough jokes in there. They got enough good action shots in there. Things felt like they made sense. As much as, we can be like, oh, you leave out this character and nothing would be different. The plot progressed in a logical manner. People's, decisions made sense to them. Like, basic things that you kind of take for granted that were lacking in other movies. So if the rest of them are like this, I think they'll be okay. If they go back to anything like Dawn of Justice, we're going to go back in the shitter.
Mm-hmm. Well, like
Did
I
you
said,
see Suicide Squad?
I did not, but again, I've heard it was pretty bad. Like, even your husband, who's like really into comic book stuff, was like, yeah, don't see it. So I'm going to take his word for it and not see it. Mm-hmm. But like, I saw Man of Steel or whatever. Yeah, Man of Steel. That was the Superman one. There's just been like 3 Superman reboots, and I can't remember what the other one was. But yeah, I saw that one, and it was good. I'd probably say maybe 7-ish, 7.5 maybe. And this Wonder Woman, I'd say, like I said, probably an 8 or so. So like, they're decent films, and so if they stay on that path, they'll do fine. Like, they're not going to overtake Marvel. Marvel's going to be dominant in the superhero movies for quite some time, unless DC really pulls something out and, like, wows everybody. But, like, if they just stay steady, that's fine. Like, you don't have to try and show up Marvel. Just do your own thing and try and do it well.
Yeah.
And they'll be fine.
And I mean, even Man of Steel, its biggest argument is how serious it takes itself and how like joyless it is. And Dawn of Justice is just that magnified. So Man of Steel I was a little more favorable with, but I will admit that this one, like, you want to go to the movies and you want to have fun. Like, people read comic books and people do whatever because it's like, man, wouldn't it be amazing if you could actually see somebody do that, or like, wouldn't it be amazing if I could do that, or something. And just like Man of Steel, it was just like he just looks like he's having a terrible time. Like, I guess it's not fun to like lose your family or whatever, your whole planet explode, but you're a friggin' superhero. Can you at least act like that's cool?
Yeah.
And I think she at least, like Wonder Woman, at least enjoys her powers, and she does be like, I'm fighting the war and war is hell. And then she sees all these like, amputee veterans coming home from the war, and they're like, oh God. But at least like she looks like she's thrilled to have powers and that she's helping and that she's doing something, where Superman's like, oh, I have to go save you people again.
Yeah.
Like, he looks like he just hates every second of it. So I'm glad that they put a little bit of fun in it. And if they keep that, that's good.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that's about everything I have to say.
Yeah, I can't really think of anything else either.
All right. Well, if anyone has any comments about Wonder Woman or the fate of the DC universe, you can always drop us a line at Twitter. We are tweeting the things at _ and whatnot. And we have our Gmail, which is and whatnot podcasting @gmail.com.
Yep. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye-bye. 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 Bye-bye.